Just got to address one of your instances in Philly in 2012 in the Winter Classic.
Yeah.
The old salute.
Yeah.
What a beautiful move.
Yeah. Well, I
my son. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. My son is 8. He just turned 8, but he has watched everything about the Flyers from back in the 70s. And I told him yesterday that you were coming on, and he watches NHL Network with me. He was like, you better say something to him about saluting Yogs. Like, that wasn't right. And I said, relax, buddy. I was like, because he heard, it was 24/7, and the boys were like mic'd, and they're like, dude, I don't know if it was Hartsey actually may have said it's disrespectful, or I can't remember.
Yeah,
it was kind of funny. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest.
So I'll give you a little bit of the backstory on it. Is I told you already about the Flyers, right? And part of that too is like, I didn't play a ton of minutes in my time in the NHL, but when we played against Philly, I played more, or I played in different situations, or I'd get bumped up in the lineup and maybe play a couple shifts with Patrick Elias or with Evgeny Malkin, because they wanted me to create some space for them or watch for them at different points of the game. So you got to look at it from my standpoint is, it made me want to play Philly even more, because I already said I wanted to be a Flyer, and I didn't feel like I ever got that opportunity, and I was pissed. But then also, it made me more valuable to my team when we played Philly, because they needed somebody to be big. They needed somebody to step in situations, because we didn't really have that, right? So, so that just kind of elevated that for me. And so I love going into Philly, and one of the best feelings in the NHL. And you should take, if Flyer fans, if you're listening, take this as a compliment, man, because I loved it. No better feeling than if you can get a win in Philly and you're coming out of that ramp. And I remember Philly Flyers fans shooting us the moon, giving us the double barrels, it just felt like
felt right. Felt right.
Honestly, man, like I appreciate that. I appreciate that because it made it feel like the Tuesday night in early January fucking meant something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and there's plenty of times where we got worked over in Philly too, and it felt awful. And the fans let you know. But anyway, so that that's kind of a part of it. But the Jagr thing, that before that season, I was a free agent. Okay, I just had my 2 best years of my career playing in Pittsburgh. I wanted to stay in Pittsburgh. It was basically like playing at home for me. What ended up happening is, every team's got their pecking order for UFAs, and that year I was like third in line. It was like Pascal Dupuis, Tyler Kennedy, and me as far as like, I guess, order of importance. And then all of a sudden, if you can remember at that time, that's when Yogs is, I want to come back to play in the NHL. And if you remember, he had like some weird thing. He was a different class free agent because of playing in Russia. And there's something weird where he didn't have to wait till July 1st to speak to teams. He had like this grace period prior, like maybe a week prior, that he can talk to teams, or a couple weeks prior or whatever. And so I'm starting to, so I see this and I start seeing these, he's saying he wants to make everything, come full circle, make things right with the Pittsburgh fans, because the Pittsburgh fans did not really like Yogs with how he left to go to Washington back in the day. And so now all of a sudden, with that pecking order of Dupuis, Kennedy, me, now Yogs is at the top, right? So we got another, and that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I would love to play with Yogs. I mean, you're talking one of the best players ever play the game.
Yeah.
But then I start seeing the words come out where it's like, I want to make things right in Pittsburgh. I want to make things right with Mario, come full circle. I want to win a cup in Pittsburgh and end this the right way, blah, 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 blah. So, of course, my contract talks are stalled, because now there's a big fish that's going to be, they need that money for, right? And so when the closer that I get to the first, and then when the first happens, it's like, I knew that if I got to July 1st, I was going to leave, because there's going to be another team able to give more money, or, I was in a situation where I needed to take more money. I didn't make a ton, at that. And like Pittsburgh offered me a 2-year deal, and I knew that I could get a 3-year deal somewhere else. And so all this stuff started coming into play, and then Yag signs with Philly. And I'm like, this fucking guy used Pittsburgh. I'm like, this guy, it's a genius move. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? But like, he had the leverage to do it. He used Pittsburgh to get more, whatever, and he was great in Philly. And that, you know, remember, like, that's where he went. Philly, he was in Florida, he's in Jersey. Like, he did well in all those places.
Boston,
and,
too. He went to Boston too.
Yeah.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Dallas.
Yeah. So
he's all over the fucking map.
Yeah. In my mind, I was like, this motherfucker just screwed me from signing with my hometown team because and so I'm like, in my head, I decided, I'm like, I'm going to get him with his head down. One of these, I don't care when it is, I'm going to get him. And I don't care if it's within the rules, outside the rules, I'm going to get him. You know? And that's a nice thing to think about in theory, but usually I wasn't on the ice when Jagr was on the ice.
Yeah, right.
So I'd have to go really rogue if I wanted to get him, I guess. But so we're playing in the Winter Classic, and we're playing in Philly in that hostile environment. And people always say, "Did you plan on doing the Jagr salute?" I mean, I didn't score enough to plan that. No, I loved in my career. We all love the fans cheering for you and score a goal and making everybody stand on their feet, or you know, you get in a fight and everybody stands on their feet. Well, you can also get it by kind of being a heel, right? And I started learning that later in my career, and I can control that more. You know what I mean? I can go out there and be a heel and get that reaction, and I thought that was important for my role that I was kind of evolving into in my career. So we're playing in Philly. We're down 2-0. Quite frankly, I get kind of a lucky goal. I mean, it was a good shot, but I shot through a screen. I think it was Mazzaros' legs, and Bob couldn't pick it up, and it went in. So my initial reaction was just like, I don't know why. I just went to, like, I knew at that point in the game I wanted to stir it up to create some emotion because we were down 2-0 on the road, Winter Classic. We were dead. And so I literally just did the salute, and I said to myself, I just go, fuck you, like that. And I just kind of did that. And I didn't really think, it wasn't like thought out. It was just like screw you guys. You know what I mean? And the rest of the game, I've talked to, Hartsey about it. I've talked to guys on the team. I didn't know it was going to have that kind of legs on it. I didn't even know honestly, I didn't know if anybody was really going to pick up on it or care about it or whatever. And so Hartsey at the intermission comes up, and we're getting ready to go off the ice. He's like, that's a joke. He's a Hall of Famer, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And, I'm still trying to stay in character and be like, oh, fuck off. Like, it's fine, like, whatever. And so then later on in the game, it's a third period, and I think the game's tied 2-2. And I'm on the ice, and Giroux's taking a face-off, and I'm the winger on the arc. And he's like, the referee's hands right here getting ready to drop the puck, and he's turned, and he's just like, are you fucking kidding me, you piece of shit? Like, he's just giving it to me. He's giving it to me, and the ref drops the puck. He's not even looking. I'm like, oh God, we're good. Like, we got these guys. You know what I mean?
We got these guys, yeah.
These guys want it. All they're thinking about is killing me because they respect Jagr, love Jagr, whatever, as a teammate. I'm like, all right, that it seemed to work, and we ended up winning that game. So then leaving that game, I'm like, we got to play. We had 24/7 following us around HBO. As all the hoopla is done, they were following us around all season. That's done. The cameras are away. We got Philly like a couple weeks later, and Jody didn't play in that game outside, right? And I'm like, all right, well, I got to answer to it now. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna act like an idiot, then you're gonna have to step up here. And I knew Jody was coming. And he came, and he was one of those guys, dude. Like, I played with him in Columbus. One of the greatest teammates I ever had. And to be honest with you, too, Nasty, like in that 24/7, there's that clip they have with me jawing with him, and I was not happy with that. I actually went to HBO producers after the game. I said, hey, I was mic'd, and I said something, and that guy's my former teammate. Like, I don't want that to air. Can you guys pull that, please? And they came back, and they're like, we need that to stay in, dude. Like, you guys signed like a thing that we have full edit ability. So I'm like,
really?
wow. So I talked to Jody about it since. Like, I just felt, whatever. It's just, he didn't give a shit. Like, it was in the heat of the moment, whatever. But
I was gonna say heat of the moment. Heat of the moment.
It's heat of the moment, and it's like, but I don't care if it was like some other people, but I was like, Jody was awesome. He was great to me in Columbus. So, anyways, so I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna give him what he wants. Then he came back and beat me up and bloodied my nose up, and he was the guy I can never. Jody would always. He was my kryptonite. That's for sure. But and then so I had to pay that price in Philly a couple weeks later, and then it was done with.
Wow, amazing.
Hey,
good for you.
I got one thing for you. Sorry to cut you, Coach, but
yeah, you're good.
The Jagr side of it was interesting because I didn't know what his response was. So then after that, I'm like, do I like say something to Jagr? I'm like, I don't think Jagr really gives a shit that this guy like whatever. I like this guy's a Hall of Famer, man. Like, and I didn't, I was like, dude, is it disrespectful? I can see why people would think it is, but it's also, we're playing hockey, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to get under your skin. And if the best way to get under your skin is to go at the legendary guy, then I'm going to do it. We all want to win. Listen, this is coming from the same guy who, when I was playing with the Rangers in the Eastern Conference Finals, shoved Marty Brodeur into the crossbar. Marty won me a cup. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, I'm on the other team, man. Like, I did it for you then. I'm doing it for them now. Like, I don't know what to tell you. But so anyways, All-Star game working NHL Network. The All-Star game was in LA. That's when Jagr was in Florida, I think. He went to the All-Star game. And me and the one guy who worked with NHL Network were walking back to the hotel after our show. We're walking towards the elevator. And Jagr comes walking around the corner, and he goes to get in the elevator with somebody else right before me. And I'm kind of like, I was just like tired. We just got done all day talking hockey. And I just kind of reached my hand across the guy I was with. I'm like, hang on a second. Let's let the elevator go up. And he goes, why? I'm like, Jagr's getting in the elevator. I don't know really how to handle it. Like, I'll think about it. I'm not going to do it right now. All right, cool. So I did like a father-daughter trip on that trip. And my daughter was out there. And so she was just hanging out in the hotel while I was finishing up work. And then we were going to go to Disneyland for the day because we had the rest of the day off. And so I had a rental car reservation like a mile outside LA. I go up to the room. I'm like, hey, let's get going. We're going to go to Disneyland, whatever. We go downstairs. I take an Uber over to the rental car place. It's like a mom and pop rental car place where there's like nobody in there, like whatever. I come walking in this rental car place. This is probably like 40 minutes after this thing by the elevator. I open the door, the little bell on the door. Ding, ding, ding. You walk in. I look. Fucking Jagr is sitting at the table.
Come on.
Yeah. Man. So literally, like the person working behind the counter and Jagr both turn like this and see us. Hey.
Did you, Rupert? Did you salute? Did you salute him?
So I go. I'm like, I just go, hey, Jagr. And he goes, hey, and then he turned back to his business. And I'm sitting there and I'm standing there and I'm like, I got to say something, man. Like, I feel like, whatever. This was dude, that All-Star game was probably like 18, 19. I don't even know when it was, but it was like 6 years after the Winter Classic. And I'm like, you know what? This has been bothering me for a while. I got to say something to him. So I go up to him and I'm like, hey, Jagr. And he turns around. I'm like, hey, dude, listen, I don't know if this is even on your radar, has been on your radar, or whatever, but I just want you to know at the Winter Classic, when I did the Jagr salute, like my job was to be an asshole. Like, I was being an asshole, but like, I hope I'm not like, you were legendary, like I watched you growing up, like, whatever. I don't want to be disrespectful. It was just, that's my job in the NHL. That's what I had to do. And he goes, oh, don't worry about it, man. Don't even worry about it. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I felt better, like whatever. Then he goes, I want to let you know, man. He's like, you do a really good job on NHL Network. So now I just feel like a biggest asshole. Like, I'm like, oh, man, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm like, one of the greatest players of all time telling me he likes watching me on the network. He goes, yeah, man. Yeah. He's like, you're really good on the network. I enjoy watching you. I go, thanks, Jagr. I really appreciate that. And he goes, yeah, man. He's like, you're way better at that than you were a fucking hockey player.
That is something he would say. That is something he would say.
He set me up, and I'm like, you son of a bitch. I'm like, 1-1. We're tied. We're done. like we're good. And he was super cool. Yeah, he was super
That's
cool
awesome.
about it. And I gave we just shook his hand, whatever, and it was all good. So whatever. That's water under the
awesome.
bridge, but yeah.